I was very fortunate. I think I shared with you folks that it's my birthday this weekend, and my daughter surprised me with coming home this weekend to celebrate my birthday with me. And I thought, what a perfect opportunity to get her on camera because I know I'm starting my soul series, and I don't know anybody else who has taught me more about courage and living by the voice inside her than my daughter. She has been on the road for the last 4 years, living the van life. And I'll be honest, when she first told me about this, maybe 5 years ago, not quite sure when she first brought it up, I was certainly, I guess I ignored her at first. I just didn't pay attention, but she kept sending us pictures of vans or campers week after week after week. And then it finally hit me. So I started looking on YouTube to understand what van life was, and I started to understand the draw to it. And it hit me. I'm like, she's going to do this. And if she's going to do this, then we need to help her find a van where she'll be safe, because I was terrified that my daughter was going out on the road across the country. So anyways, welcome, Courtney. Thank you for doing this for my birthday as a gift.
Thanks for having me.
I guess the first question would be, when did this first inspire you to go live on the road? If I remember correctly, you were still in college when you first told me about it, which is, what, 6, 7 years ago, maybe?
Yeah. 2019.
2019. So did you have friends that did it? How did you hear about it?
Somewhere on the internet, I saw people living in vans, probably through Instagram or YouTube or something. And I had traveled abroad as
that's right,
in my junior year of college. And after that, I just kind of knew I wanted to travel.
Okay.
And I didn't really know how, because traveling always seemed very expensive and sort of out of reach. And then I saw people on the internet just traveling in vans and living in vans and getting to see all these amazing places that I always thought existed outside of the US. And I always had to go far away in order to see like really beautiful things. And I realized that there was a lot here to go and see and experience. And yeah, and I was dating a boy at the time, and we'd kind of been like, once I graduate, maybe we can go just live in a van and see what it's all about. And that didn't pan out the way that I thought it would, but I obviously ended up going by myself. And I think that was definitely the journey that I was meant to be on.
And I will say one thing, not many good things came out of the pandemic, but I think during that time you had started your career, if you would, if I remember correctly, after college. You got that management position, and then because of the pandemic, you basically were let go and laid off. So you homeschooled for a while, I think it was.
Yep.
And you got your yoga certification. So I think it's truly because of that that you were like, you know what? Because you weren't working in, quote unquote, a corporate career, you may have felt that you had the ability to, it may have been just a good time to go and do it. And again, I think during that time, there was a lot of people traveling, at least from the videos that I was watching and stuff. Were you nervous, the thought of packing up your life and putting it in a van?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was terrified. I cried probably for a solid hour after I pulled out of the driveway. And I think it was a mix of excitement and like, oh, this is really happening. Like, I'm really just going off. And it was also kind of, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know anyone that lives outside of New England, really.
Was there an inner voice inside you that talked to you about, this is just something you got to do, Court? Was it like this whisper? Or was it just because you truly just sort of was romanticized by seeing it on YouTube or wherever you were seeing it, Instagram? So you just wanted to try it? Or was it something that you feel like you were being drawn towards?
No, it was definitely an inner voice, and it wasn't just a whisper. It was more like a scream.
Okay.
And it took us a while to find a van and to find something that I could live in safely, but also afford at the time. And
this is just a perfect example of how the universe has your back and things align. Remember, you were sending us van, camper, just all these things. And when I finally acknowledged she's going to do this, and we got to make sure we send her off safely, and something reliable. It was literally that night that Andy found the van.
Mm-hmm.
She names all her cars, by the way, and her van was named too.
Yes.
Your
Sisu is the name of my van right now.
So yeah, we found Sisu, and she has definitely served you well. But it goes to show that how things just align and the universe truly has your back when you're, I guess, marching and fulfilling what your soul, I
Mhm.
guess, that, what I call that internal whisper, I call it my
Yep.
soul.
But it was
So,
frustrating. I remember there was a period of time where I was trying to find a van or just get myself out on the West Coast. And I remember getting really frustrated, and it just felt really hard, and nothing was ever going to happen, or I just wasn't going to have enough money to afford something. And then and there was times I wanted to kind of give up and just be like, do I really want to do this? Is this really something that like I should be pursuing? And then it was like you said, I don't know, a couple of weeks later, it was like
everything just
I
sort of, yeah, checked all the boxes.
had a new home.
And it was funny, the woman you had bought the van from too, she was somebody that had traveled for a couple of years out west and came back, got a new van. And long story short, she ended up needing to sell the van because she got married, whatever. But it was half built out. And so we finished building it out and were able to send you off. So I guess I have so many questions, but I guess one of the questions is, over the 4 years that you've been out, what do you feel that you've learned the most, say, from, you do a lot of hiking.
Mhm.
Maybe I should back up a little bit. You do a lot of hiking. I don't think there's a day that goes by that you're not out walking or hiking. And I don't mean little hikes like I would go on. She just, with her boyfriend, finished the rim to rim to rim. March? Was it March?
Yep.
So that's out at the Grand Canyon.
45 miles.
45 miles.
Like lots of elevation gain.
So what was that, 14 hours? Is that what it was?
It took us a little over 13.
Okay. So I'm lucky if I can run 3 miles. So 46 miles. So tell me, what have you learned from your hikes? What have you learned just from being out there?
So much. But I would say the biggest thing is that running uphill is always going to be, I don't want to swear, but it's always going to be a bleep, like always. But it's not so much about the hill, it's about how you perceive the hill.
Yep.
And it's not, you can't, in life, I feel like there's always going to be ups and downs and challenges and obstacles. There's never going to be a point where things just stop happening to you, you
Right.
know, because that's not how life works. But I think it's all about how you adapt to those challenges, and that changes your whole experience of it. And easy or hard isn't about the mountain that you're climbing, it's about you and how your mindset and how you feel about
That's
the
truly
experience that you're in.
what a beautiful metaphor, when you're just like, going uphill is always going to suck. But and it's how you do it, how you perceive it, right? That's
Mhm.
life, right? We're always going to have a mountain, and I've certainly talked about that. There's always going to be something we have to climb, another obstacle. It doesn't ever stop. We've
Yeah.
never been promised an easy life, but I think every obstacle has taught us. I'm sure just like you, climbing every mountain has taught you something.
Mhm.
And I certainly don't want to make it sound, for anybody that is listening, that your 4 years has been all roses and easy.
Oh,
and
no.
no, we sent her out in November. I don't remember the exact day, maybe November 21st
Oh.
of 2021. And I think she called us on Christmas Eve day of 2021, told us she was stuck in a mud pit, right?
Yep.
So we've had
Yeah.
not many, but we've had a handful of calls
Yeah.
like that in the middle of the night. Like, what do I do?
I think that first year out was definitely the hardest. It just always seemed like one thing after another, you know?
Yep.
And I was like, I kind of remember ending my first year, I guess, living in the van and being like, what am I doing? Like, I thought this is all going to just be fun and whatever. And no, I'm not a handyman or a mechanic or anything, but I learned a lot just
Yeah.
because you had to. And there'd be so many times I would be texting Andy being like, what does this light mean in my car? Like, I don't know. And but
So, you know what, that how do you distinguish between the right fear, right?
Mhm.
Everybody tries to avoid fear. So, but fear can also be good because fear a little bit can keep you safe.
Yep.
But how do you distinguish between fear of making sure that common sense, you're keeping yourself safe out on the road, and fear of just tackling that next obstacle? You're stuck in the mud. I'm sure you were a little bit fearful that day because you had
Yeah.
nobody to come, at least you thought you had nobody to come out to pull you out. And again, universe had your back where it was a park ranger, right?
Yeah.
Came and was able to pull you out. But how do you distinguish between that voice inside you of keeping yourself safe and knowing when to push yourself over that fear of doing something?
I think when it's actual fear of like, I could be putting myself in a dangerous situation or like keeping myself physically safe, it's like a gut feeling where
Okay.
it's like, I don't quite know why I'm feeling this way, but I am, so I'm just going to trust it. Whereas I feel like fear, when it's like your mind is trying to keep you safe and maybe hold you back a little bit from doing something, it's all in the head. And when I went to run the 45 miles, I was kind of scared. I mean, I know I have the endurance to go for that long, but to actually run and to keep my body going and moving, I was scared, but I knew it was mostly in my head of like my mind trying to tell me like, no, you shouldn't go do that but I knew that I could.
So that's the difference between when you say mind, I always think it's the ego who's trying
Yeah.
to keep you back and keep you safe versus that internal
Yeah.
voice, like you said, inside your heart.
Because doing something new is always going to bring that fear up.
Yeah.
And it's just distinguishing, is this real fear? I'm putting myself in danger, or is it just fear because it's unknown?
Right, right. So, and if we could just maybe even take a step back when you were packing up your van to leave for that first time. And again, you've always considered Sisu your home. It wasn't like you were just out on the road for a month, 2 months, and you would come back here. I mean, obviously, this is your childhood home. You're always welcome here, but you don't really consider this your home anymore. You consider your van your home. How did you learn to let go of all that extra stuff? Actually, I just did a video a week or so ago about clutter and all the stuff we accumulate in our lives. And sometimes I think we do that because we feel that it makes us feel better about ourselves and the worthiness of ourselves. You had to fit your whole bedroom into that van.
Yeah. Everything I own's in that van.
So, but how did you just come to terms with, I just have to, I don't know, just downsize and that's it? And did you not attribute your worth to the stuff that you owned or anything?
I definitely
that-
used to.
Okay.
I used to work in fashion, so I owned a lot of clothes. Every day I was coming home with new clothes, and
if it was a bad day, she needed a new outfit to make her feel better.
And if it was a good day,
she needed an outfit to celebrate. So.
Yeah. But I definitely clung to that as my identity for a really long time. And I think it was hard for me to go live in a van and kind of be dressed in the same outfit every day for a week sometimes, or just not have that, I don't know, thing that I used to like express myself with, I guess. And I found new, more meaningful ways to express myself. Not that there's anything wrong with dressing cute and having different outfits. I think it's fun, but I just realized that it was like it was kind of more of that short-term dopamine hit of like getting something new versus I'm going out and doing this thing that in the long run is going to be way better for me than buying a new outfit. And even still, like I have those little thoughts sometimes of if I want to go travel abroad somewhere or go somewhere new, I'm okay, do I really need to be going out to eat or getting this new backpack or hiking, whatever it is, versus I could be spending that money elsewhere.
So, and I mean, this interview could go on literally all afternoon, but what would you say are the top 3 things you've learned over these past 4 years? Whether it's about yourself, about society, about just whatever.
Whoa. I would say Well, about myself, I'm a lot more capable than I ever thought
Just
that I
gonna say
was.
yes, I was just gonna say that.
I feel
That's
like
what I'm
I
seeing.
never really had a whole lot of confidence in myself for a long time, just because society and other things and whatever. And it was really hard to learn that. And I think me going out and living in a van, I still didn't even perceive that as something like crazy or super courageous or
Mhm.
anything. And then as I met random people along the way, they were like, "You're how old and you're doing what?" And I was like, "I don't know what's so crazy about it." But it was that mirror of them showing to me, you're more capable than when a lot of people don't have the guts to go and do that.
No,
So it's
for
definitely
sure.
instilled a lot of confidence in me, which has been really great. I would say I've also learned that, which I feel I kind of knew this before, but it's been really clear that a lot of people just keep themselves stuck in the rat race of what they think they should be doing with their lives versus what they may actually want to be doing with their lives. And I know it's hard to change your life, especially if you are married or have children or family responsibilities,
Mhm.
you know, whatever it is. But, and I know I was very fortunate at just where I was in my life to just be single and have very little attachments and be able to just go and do what I wanted to do.
But you bring up and not you still owe us one more, but I know there was people in your life even when you've and I was one of them. I admit, like I told you, I ignored you for about a year saying,
Yeah.
"Yeah, yeah, yeah, this she'll get over this idea." And you didn't. And I'm really proud that you didn't. I truly am very proud of that. But how did you continue just to listen to your inner voice and not all the people around you when you wanted to do this dissuade you from doing it? I know your
Hmm.
dad. Your
Hmm.
dad's a great guy, but he definitely didn't want his little girl out on the road,
You
and
know.
he would have bought you a house to keep you here, and that was not who you are. So how did you stay true to yourself?
Honestly,
Okay.
lots of yoga and meditation. And that may sound really corny, but I think that's the thing during that year or two while I was trying to transition and figure out what I was doing. That thing really kept me grounded and it made the external noise a lot quieter
Okay.
than my internal voice. And I think that's what helped me. And I think it's different for everyone. And now it's when I'm out in the mountains, no matter what I'm doing, if I'm just sitting, running, doesn't matter. That's when my internal voice is the loudest and when it's able to come
Nice.
out more. I think it's for anyone at any point of their life, it's really important to have that practice, no matter what it is or what it looks like,
Mhm.
of just quieting the external noise. And it can be
Yes.
as simple as washing the dishes. That can be meditative. It doesn't have to be a grand thing or look a certain way. It's just,
I know I always tell people to go outside. If you can go outside, sort of ground yourself a little bit,
Mhm.
sometimes that helps with the noise. And I just know, and this is just, I guess, one of the lessons that you have taught me is that how to let go, if you
Mhm.
would. I think you know that you could call me anytime, any day, and I would be there to help you any way I could. But I had to trust that I had to let you go. I had to trust that anything that we instilled in you in the first 20, 21, 22 years of your life was going to get you through. And again, I'm just so proud of you, and everything that you've accomplished is so much more than I certainly did at your age. I probably didn't tune into my soul and my passion. Didn't even start thinking about it until my 40s and really didn't tune into it until my 50s. So it's just amazing, Court, that you're that old soul that has stayed true to yourself and you can hear yourself. Not everybody can. It gets drowned out. We talk about society and the world around us and the noise. It just drowns all that out and you need to get reconnected. So if you could give, I won't say three, I'll just put you on the spot for
Okay.
one. If you could look to the person
Hmm.
listening right now and you could give them one piece of advice, no matter where they are in their life, because people don't have to let go of their life. People don't have to
Oh,
empty their
yeah.
closets
Yeah.
and get a van
Nope.
and go away to hear that voice and to live their passion. What advice could you give them?
Hmm. I feel like so many things come to mind,
Well, you can riff on a
but
couple things.
I feel like at the end of the day, we all get so worried about the little things in life, and all those things really just they don't matter at all. What matters is that you are happy, and life is supposed to be full of joy and love and kindness and connection, and it's not supposed to be this big extravagant thing. I mean, I shouldn't say it's not supposed to be extravagant. It could be like those little mundane things that like truly make life special. And I feel like we're always so worried about what it looks like to other people or worried about being judged. And it just doesn't matter. I don't know. Last week, like I said, I wore the same clothes every day for a week, and I was just out in the mountains, and I went swimming in the river, and it was great, and it was beautiful, and it was simple, and I wasn't worried about how much money I was making or what I was posting on Instagram or just, I don't know. I feel like I'm getting off track, but I just feel what really matters is what makes you happy and what you following your heart. Yeah, so I just feel we all get so caught up in the little things in life when in reality, it's just sort of whatever. Our lives are so temporary and our time on earth is so short when you really think about it. I can't believe it's already been 4 years that I've been living in my van. I know when I left, a lot of you were, you're only probably going to be in it for a year and then
Oh,
you'll
for
be
sure.
back. And now
For
here we
sure.
are 4 years later, and I don't really see myself in another lifestyle at this moment of my life. And yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do for a job or what your career is, where you live. It just matters that you can make yourself happy. And I don't know.
No,
Every day.
that's and you know what amazes me, Court, is you're not even 30 and you recognize this in yourself and in other people, and the advice is spot on because there's a book by Bronnie Ware who talks about the 5 regrets of the dying. She's a hospice caretaker. And the number one regret is people didn't live their life on their terms. They always lived it according to what they thought other people wanted them to do, be.
Yeah.
And so you're spot on. And
I will say one thing that does keep me going is when I talk to people who are a bit older, and whether it's sometimes that random stranger in the grocery store or
Right.
just whatever, it's most of the time it's just strangers, and they're, wow, I wish I did what you were doing at that age and didn't wait till I was 70, 80 years old to get out and start living my life. And they just always say, keep going, just keep going. And
Yeah,
I
that's
feel like
amazing.
those moments are always the ones that really stick with me, because once you get to that age,
Agreed.
I'm not going to remember all the days I went to work and then just came home and watched TV, and I'm going to remember all of this. And
yeah.
and maybe I don't have a 401k, but I got a heart full of love and joy and memories, and I feel like that's what's really important. So
And Courtney has a YouTube channel as well as Instagram. I think that's it.
Yep.
And I will link both of those in the description if you would like to go follow her. She posts a lot out on Instagram, very inspirational messages. So it'd be fun to follow her and see where she's traveling to next. Any closing remarks, hon?
no, just
No.
that I love you.
I love you too, honey. Thank you so much for doing this. And I know it's going to touch somebody that's watching it. So I've been wanting to do this a while. And coming home on my birthday, yeah, it's extra special. And I always like to close just by telling you folks that you're enough just the way you are. Remember that. And you are the hero of your own story. You can make it any story you want. I love you guys.
Don't you wanna be free when you're standing on the edge of time? One word's all I need to relieve you of your rising greed. Don't you wanna be free? right and be true to the ones you need. Don't you